All right, our last session of this year's Big Talk from Small Libraries online conference is Are You There, Readers Advisory? It's me, the librarian. Something we all deal with, Readers Advisory. And Cheyenne Chontos is here from the Harrisburg Community Library in South Dakota. Population served 9,435 is what I have here. And they're going to talk to us about doing Readers Advisory. Some people love it. Some people have a love-hate relationship with it. So tell us about how you're doing it there and some tips that we can use to do it ourselves.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much. Again, I apologize for the technical issues. I feel like I'm the last librarian of the day, and so it had to happen. So thank you, everyone, for your patience. And I just want to say I have been here all day just taking in all this information, and it's been fantastic. I am absolutely R&Ding so many ideas from the presenters and from just everyone in the comments. So I just huge thank you, and huge thank you to the Nebraska Library Commission. So for all of your hard work as well, because this is such a fabulous conference. So just really appreciate it. So I'll start out with that. Well, my name is Cheyenne Chontos. I am the director at the Harrisburg Community Library in Harrisburg, South Dakota. If you don't know where that is, that's totally fine. The biggest town that we're near, we're actually only a couple miles from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which is about 4 hours from Minneapolis or the Twin Cities area in Minnesota. We're about 2.5 hours from Omaha. And then I have a brother and a sister-in-law who live in Lincoln, and so we're about 3.5-ish hours from them there. So just to give you some context, if you're from kind of this middle part of the U.S. on where I'm located. All right, so a quick overview on Readers Advisory. I love talking Readers Advisory, and I both I both love and hate Readers Advisory. It totally depends on the situation, but honestly, I think it's a really great topic, and it is something that we all deal with. So I think it's a good one to go over. So, what is Readers Advisory? And then we'll be talking about challenging yourself and your patrons. We'll talk about going beyond books for your Readers Advisory, Readers Advisory tools, and then Readers Advisory as outreach. All right, so what is Readers Advisory? When I talk Readers Advisory, I really like to reference the 5 laws of library science. These are from 1931, so it's been a minute, but they still hold pretty true, so I do like to reference them. So the first one is books are for use. I recently had people from the state library. Before I worked here as the director, I was with the South Dakota State Library. So I totally love state libraries, and I love state agencies like the Nebraska Library Commission, because I know that they work really hard. But I had some old coworkers come by, former coworkers come by, and check out the library here in Harrisburg, and they were like, oh, these books, your classics are so beautiful, like we don't want to touch them. And I'm like, no, books are for use. We want them to be touched, and we want them to be checked out and read and all of that, those good things. So so books are for use. We're really going to focus on 2 and 3, which is every book, his or her, every reader, excuse me, his or her or their book. Every book, its reader. And then number 4, save time of the reader. And then 5, the library is a growing organism, which I know I don't have to remind all of you that. I know you're all very aware. So our goal with Readers Advisory is to connect the right reader to the right book at the right time. So this is going to be the slide with the most words. From this point on, it'll be mostly pictures, but I will give you a little word salad first. So what we want to focus on when challenging ourselves and our patrons is going outside of the norm. We all have books that we love and love to recommend. We know that they're going to be big favorites. So in my library, it's going to be William Kent Kruger is huge. Hannah Kent is huge. Frida McFadden, always big. I know the Dogman movie just came out, so for our elementary kids, Dogman is always big. I don't know if you all experience this, especially if you work with children, but Garfield is always really popular. That shocked me that Garfield is still a real real popular character. So we do lean on some of those favorites. But those things can get a little bit stale, especially for your regulars or people who you know are big readers. And you do want to kind of try to challenge yourself and your patrons when you are recommending books. So getting out of your norm can be really difficult, really difficult. But one of the best ways to do that is to just try new books, get comfortable reading different genres or from different perspectives that you may not be used to, just a little bit outside of your comfort zone. You don't have to read, obviously, everything in your library. That would be really, really hard, but if not impossible. But just reading a little bit of everything, even if it's not your favorite, just gives you an idea of what is out there, and that can really help in the long run. And then getting your patrons out of their norm. Some readers like a little bit of every genre, and other readers are very strict with what genres they like, but keeping this kind of thing in mind is really helpful when you are trying to get them to branch out. So I want you to just think of taking advantage of those new arrivals that come in, and also consider your books or other materials in your library that have lower circ stats or circulation statistics. These can be real hidden gems that they're great books. They just, you know, we all have big library, or we all have big collections or bigger collections, not just like 20 books or something like that. So it's easy for books to get lost in the shuffle of things, and you know, we can shed a little bit of light on those hidden gems too. But also taking advantage of those new arrivals as well. And those can be really intimidating for some people. It can be intimidating to read a new book or a new author that they're not used to. But having you, the librarian, give sort of this trusted recommendation is really going to help them feel a little bit more comfortable trying those new things. And then I just want to really emphasize that to make sure you're not always recommending like the same author or the same type of author or the same type of book or the same genre. You want to mix it up. You want to either put out on your displays or showcasing, or when you're actually giving the recommendation, books of a variety of backgrounds. This makes sure that, like I had said earlier with those library laws, that every book finds its reader, and every patron or reader finds their book. All right, so I'm going to give an example of challenging yourself, and I'm going to be the example for this. I love the book Rebecca. I am such a big fan of like this gothic ghost type of fiction. I think it's really good, sort of this haunted but not haunted, spooky atmosphere. It's really, really my favorite type of thing. So I love the book Rebecca. I think it's really good and fun. And I was thinking to myself, well, I want that feeling, but I don't want that exact novel again, of course. Not that I don't love a good reread, but I want something different. And so I was like, well, I want maybe another sort of gothic novel around maybe the same time period, but I want it to be more of a haunting story, more of a horror genre. And so I went, well, of course, I've got to read The Haunting of Hill House. And I loved it. It was perfect. It was exactly what I wanted. And I found that what I liked from both of those was there was these big houses or estates as characters in the novel. So I thought, wow, that's really an interesting sort of framework to go with. Similarly, I thought, well, now I want another novel that's sort of gothic, but I want it to be a little bit more written in a more modern mindset. So I thought, okay, I'll read The Cherry Robbers, which is actually one of my favorite novels of all time. Really, really good. But again, it's a historical novel, but written in, I think, 2020, in the 2020s, I believe. So it's a newer book, but written for, you know, an older time period. And again, I love how gothic it was. It was a different background than the other two, and a little less haunted, but still a little creepy in its own way. And then I thought, okay, I really want to do something a little different. I want an author with a very different background, and so I went with Mexican Gothic. It's got Gothic in the name, so I knew it was up the right alley. But again, I wanted sort of those the haunting, the gothic feel, all of that. So I ended up reading essentially books that were outside of strictly the Rebecca like genre or what you might find next to Rebecca, but found things that had really similar imagery or styles or things like that, even if the author backgrounds were different or they were written in different time periods. So just things to kind of keep in mind as you branch out. Now, as you challenge your patrons, I will give this example. My favorite person to give book recommendations to is my mom. I love giving her book recommendations for two reasons in particular. One, she is very particular with what she likes to read, which is good. It's a compliment. She knows what she likes and she knows what she doesn't like, and I really respect that. And then the second reason is she is always going to be honest with me. She's not going to say she liked a book when she didn't really enjoy the book. She loves the Nevada Bar series, the Anna Pigeon series by Nevada Bar. The first one is Track of the Cat, and it's this great book series set in national parks around the US. They're really like fun and engaging and has a great like female protagonist and all of the stuff. And she adores that series, and she flew through them and she wanted something similar. So at first I recommended Hunting Game by Helene Kirsten, which she enjoyed, sort of again, a strong female protagonist. She liked that it was outdoorsy. What I found she did not enjoy about it was that it is a translated novel, I believe from Norwegian, and they have very like those Scandinavian Norwegian names, so it's like Olaf and I don't know, things like that, names like that. And she's like, they all sounded kind of similar and I could not keep them apart. And I'm like, well, okay, we will avoid that maybe, names that you're not as familiar with, and we'll try something different. I then went back to a lot closer to home with William Kent Kruger, who is a Minnesota writer, with the Cork O'Connor series, the first one being Iron Lake. And she loved these. It does not have the female protagonist as the main character, but she loved, again, that it was outdoorsy, centered on like a crime element, mystery. She really, really enjoyed. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to really push her because she reads a lot of fiction and not as much nonfiction, which I think is true for a lot of people. Not everyone, but a lot of people prefer fiction. And so I thought, well, I'm going to push her. I'm going to try to get her to read some nonfiction. This was Gator Country by Rebecca Renner, which is actually one of my favorite books from last year. So very good if you enjoy a nonfiction book. So I had her read this and she loved it. It takes place in Florida. We are nowhere near Florida, but she just thought that the people in it were so interesting. Again, it had that outdoorsy element, it had the crime element, it had all of that. And so she really, really gravitated towards it and ended up really liking it. She did ask for a fiction recommendation after it though. So again, it's just like having her branch out and try new things was really fun, and it was good to hear her feedback on those. So, all right, so libraries aren't just books, as we all know. So I again, we'll always reference those 5 laws of library science, but those have since been updated because the first ones were written about 100 years ago almost. So they were updated in 2008 by Carol Simpson to reflect more of the modern use of libraries. Because again, libraries are changing and growing. So those updated 5 laws are: media is or are for use, every patron his information, every medium its user, save the time of the patron, and the library is a growing organism. And again, I think it's really important to see that 4 and 5 have been unchanged because those things still remain true. It's our jobs as librarians to help patrons get their materials quickly and effectively. We have to keep in mind that they are busy people, no matter what their ages or background or anything like that. People have lives outside of being a library patron. And then also that the library continues to grow. I think, again, that's just something that we all know. If you work in libraries at all, you know that we are constantly growing and changing. So
and that is why these 5 laws had to be changed, because we are growing and changing.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Example of that. Yeah.
Yes,
I was going to say at the beginning that, those 5 laws are really evergreen. They'll always be, but it is very limiting too, the 2 and 3, or well, the 1, 2, and 3. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So this kind of yes, I so appreciate that. Yeah, this really broadens it out to be more about all of the things that libraries encompass, or at least most of the things. Who knows, these 5 laws might change in the next couple of years to reflect whatever we're doing, in 20 years or whatever that might look like.
Definitely, and we'll accept that, yes.
Exactly. I think it's one of the most exciting parts about being in a library. I always say that we do something different every day. And that's true day to day, and that's true year to year. So our goal now is to connect the right patron, not only to the right book, but to the right media or material at the right time. Because there aren't people just coming in for books. People come into libraries for a ton of different reasons, just truly so many different reasons. So looking beyond books, some things you might want to keep in mind in your library that we have in our library in Harrisburg that you want to move beyond books for your collection and for recommendations. So movies and TV, databases, libraries of things and services, partners and local resources. So again, just keeping these things in mind when you're thinking of those updated 5 rules of library science. So one of the ways that I like to really emphasize the other material that we have in the library for people who are used to a library being more traditional for books is that I like to pair materials that we have or resources that we have with our books. So one example, our library is located right next to a man-made pond that the state of South Dakota Game Fish and Park, they stock for us with fish. So as you can, and it's got a little dock. So as you can imagine, it's a ton of kids in the summer with their fishing poles, and they are coming by the library smelling like fish. And as long as they don't bring the fish in, I'm totally fine with that. But we noticed that there was this need for fishing supplies. Like there were kids who were coming in and they were watching their friends fish, but they couldn't fish as well. Or there were families who, would talk about going fishing, but they're like, I don't have a pole or whatever else. And so with our partnership with Game Fish and Parks, they got us some of their older fishing poles they weren't using at their locations, and we were able to check those out. So if a patron comes in and they're interested in fishing books like The Feather Thief, which again I highly recommend, they can check that out, and we might say, oh, did you know we also check out fishing poles and tackle boxes? Since you're going to check those things out, you should have a South Dakota fishing handbook so that you know all of the fishing rules and things like that, and make sure you have your fishing license and all of those good things. Another example of a pairing that we would do is we have, it's essentially a book club to go bag, but we call it Book Club with Besties. And it's a little tote bag, and we put 2 to 5 of the same book in it. And then it also has like some cookie packs and then some hot chocolate packets in there. And those are really fun, especially in the winter, colder months. And so one of the books that we have is A Man Called Oath. And if some patrons were to check that bag out, I might say, oh, did you know we also have the movie version, A Man Called Otto? Would you like to check that one out as well? And then it sounds like you're going to have just this lovely reading time with your friends or family or whoever, and maybe watching a movie. We also check out puzzles. You want to check out one of our puzzles as well. So again, it's just sort of a new way to highlight what you have and pair them together in a very natural way. You're not forcing them to see all the different things that you offer. You're just sort of naturally using those occurrences where they're checking out books or more traditional materials to then highlight some cool things that you have at your library too. Cool new things. Do we have any questions or anything so far? I want to pause before I get into probably the biggest part of my presentation.
Yeah, yes, if anybody does have any questions, comments, anything you want to share about Reader's Advisory that you're doing, type it in the questions section. Someone did say a little bit ago, and I missed it, I'm sorry at the time. No, they just said, I'm actually doing that exact puzzle right now.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. We love White Mountain puzzles at our library. Wow, we're big fans.
Nice.
What we do is have those out on like a table in our library, and then once they're done, we pack them up, and then we put them out for checkout. So that's been super popular if anyone's ever looking to do a similar thing like that.
And I mean, I don't know if you're going to get to this because I see you are getting to RA tools here, but someone did want to know, what is your favorite resource for finding book recommendations?
Oh my goodness, I am so excited. What a natural transition for us. Thank you to whoever asked. Well, I'll just dive right in then to some readers advisory tools and some of my favorites. So I have them on here. I apologize, it looks like my QR code did not pop up, but I will send this presentation, and if it's okay, if it's linked on the Big Talk for Small Libraries website, I'm good with that. Or if anyone wants to email me for a copy of the presentation, you can get the links there too. But I will real quick highlight some of these things that I have linked and highlighted, and we'll go from there. So some readers advisory tools that I really, really enjoy include some databases and websites. So that would include Library Reads, and I'll kind of show these more in depth in just a second. But Goodreads or Storygraph, NetGalley, children's read-alikes. Some awards that I would look at would be, since I'm in South Dakota, I have to highlight South Dakota Library Association's Children's Book Awards and Teen Book Awards, but then also the Caldecott Newbery Awards, the National Book Awards, and then more genre-specific awards too. And then also, I would also definitely want to highlight as readers advisory tools, your fellow staff. So at my library, I love mysteries, and I love horror, and I love romance. The romance really being out of left field. But my other staff, they love, some of them love more traditional mysteries or cozier mysteries. Some of them like thrillers, or just a whole like wide variety. It's nice that we don't all read the same thing, which is good, because then we can kind of pull each other. So I had someone who had asked us over the phone, oh, I really want a good thriller. And I'm like, I don't read a lot of thrillers. I don't know them off the top of my head, but I was like, that's okay. My coworker or colleague Shonda is in, and she loves thrillers, and she listed like 8 off the top of her head. And this patron ended up going home with 3, or putting on hold 3 of those. So it was a great instance of like, let me pull my resources that I have with me. One of those resources being the people around me. Also, social media is a great place to find recommendations. I know Book Talk and Bookstagram, they can both be met with like, again, a love-hate relationship, but I do think it's a good place to look for readers advisory tools and ideas, just because that's where a lot of patrons get their book recommendations as well. There are great blogs and publishers out there to follow. And then one thing I really want to highlight is resources from other libraries. So I'm going to actually close out of my presentation for a second. All right, and then can you still see my screen? I'll double check.
Yep. I see your Google
Perfect.
sheets. Yep.
Awesome. Well, this is, as you can see, it was originally for the South Dakota Library Association, but congrats to everyone here. You can all have access to this as well. It is it's like a reader's advisory resource collection. And essentially I wanted to do a big pool of where do people find good reader's advisory, advice or tools or whatever that looks like. And can we share that so that we're not all recreating the wheel, because that's not what we want to do. We want to R&D from other libraries. So this is just a great example of that. So some on here would be like the New York Public Library blog, YALSA, Teen Book Finder. I mean, just some really, really great ones on here. So again, I'll try to make sure that you all can have access to this as well, because I'd love to see what you all use, and just continue to add to this list. I just think it's better when we can collaborate and create something together.
Someone does say literature map is a great one.
Yes. Oh, again, you all, this is the best group because this so naturally segues into what I was going to show, which is
this is not planned. No, just
this is not scripted. No, that's perfect, because this was when I first did this presentation about a year ago. I did not know this one, and it's now been brought up to me several times, and I now use it all the time because I think it's so helpful. And I actually use it a lot when I purchase materials for the library too, because I'm like, oh, I know someone loves like Frida McFadden, but we run out of, she can only publish so much. She publishes a lot, but we only have so many of her books. What other books can I find that are similar? So in fact, I will do her as an example. So Frida McFadden, you type in an author, and then as you can see, this big sort of map pops up of other authors who are similar. So the closer that they are to that original name, the more similar that their books or writing style are likely going to be. So for example, we have Frida McFadden, again, very popular, and I know that other people who like her also like John Mars. And so if I was interested in looking at similar authors to John Mars, I would click on his name and another map would pop up. So again, you can see similar names like Lucinda Berry was on the Frida McFadden map as well. And then I should point out the further away someone is, the less similar they are to those authors. So John Mars might be, his books might be very similar to Lucinda Berry, but not as similar to like a Nicholas Sparks. So I just think this is a super cool tool. So definitely, if you haven't checked it out, it's literature-map.com. Really a great tool. Super fun to kind of play around with. All right. Another one I wanted to point out is library reads. Especially if you do collection development, I just can't more highly recommend library reads. I love it because it does give you, it's very simple. The user interface is super simple because it's just, this is their page. Every month it's updated with the top like 10 books. They have kind of a highlighted one, and then the top 10 books that are coming out that month. So this one is for March. And these are all books recommended by librarians across, really across the world. And then you can even see that they have different reviews and things like that written by librarians, usually across the US, but it's really like fantastic, a great resource. And then they have like a notable nonfiction pick, a bonus pick, and then they have just lots of other great information, and you can always go back to their archive and then their Hall of Fame of authors, things like that. This is just such a good way to know what big books are coming out soon and what to look out for. But it's also a great place to get recommendations for books that you think, you know, I know this patron really enjoys thrillers or whatever else. Let's look for thrillers that are coming out soon or that did come out in the last couple of months that they might have. Any questions on library reads or anything? I'll do a quick pause.
Anybody have anything to share about that? Nope, I guess not just yet. Cool.
Sounds good. Well, that's okay. We'll go right into NetGalley then, which is another thing that I had highlighted in that presentation. So I don't know, every time I've done this, this is the third time now that I've done this presentation, but the two other times I've done it, there were so many people who did not know about NetGalley, and I think that every librarian should know about NetGalley because I love it so much. I promise they did not sponsor me for this, but I just think they're great. So one of the ways that books end up on that list of library reads is through NetGalley. You get advanced reader copies of books digitally through NetGalley. And then you can vote if they're adult fiction books, you can, or nonfiction now, you can vote that they will be part of that list of top 10. And then you can, submit your reviews and things like that. So if you're interested at all in library reads and you want to contribute more, I definitely recommend NetGalley. So I'm just going to show you quickly what NetGalley looks like and then some of the resources that you can get from it, or how to use it, I should say. So this is sort of what the dashboard looks like, and it, has titles from your categories and all these fun things. your little badges. It's a very cute, fun interface. I really enjoy it. But you can go to different titles to see what's coming out. These are all books that haven't come out yet or that are being re-released. And again, it's just a great way to see what big books are coming out soon for that your patrons might be interested in. So I'm going to give an example of a book that I had found that I thought, oh, this will be a fun one. When you use the site enough, you become like auto-approved for certain publishers. So I had been auto-approved. So I'm like, okay, perfect. I'll just click read it. And then you can say what, appeals to you about this book. And I like the author and the cover and the description, really all of those things. Then you click read it. And then what I personally love is I have a little Kindle and I can just send it straight to my Kindle. And then if I had my Kindle with me, it would be there already. So it's a really handy tool for getting more advanced reader copies. I will say that if you are like me and you spend way too much time reading like late at night, this will not help that. But it's really great and it's free. And if you're a member of ALA, you can enter your number and they'll get you approved for more books. So just as a heads up, I always want to highlight that one because I think it's such a good resource. All right, well, I'll go back to my presentation. All right. So those are just a couple of the reader's advisory tools that I would recommend looking into if you are looking to either enhance your collection or just look at reader's advisory on the spot, things like that. So other reader's advisory tools that I recommend are things that you make. One that we have at our library is a read-alike binder. So I always go back to Frida McFadden because she's so popular right now, which is great. So we have if you liked The Housemaid, here are some other books that you can try. The reason I really like this binder that we keep at our desk or at the circulation desk is that in the summer when it's summer reading at the public library, or even if you're at a school library or an academic library and you're at your busiest and you've got 100 things going on and there's this line at the circulation desk and you're just scrambled and someone comes up to you and they're like, I need a book for my child, or I want a book for me and I like this kind of book. And you have to just think of a book or two or three off the top of your head. This is a great tool to have because if you're anything like me and you're asked a question like that, it's like every book I've ever read kind of goes out of my head for a second. And it's hard not to be like, oh, I don't even know what books are. And so this is just a really great tool to, have some go-to picks. And then also, usually once I have a second to look at the binder, I also have a second to think and my head clears and I'm like, oh yes, I do remember what books are. I have so many for you to choose from. So I really recommend a read-alike binder. Some libraries also have little pamphlets. It reminded me actually of the little flyers everywhere, the session earlier today, where you can have even just a half sheet of paper or a little quarter sheet of paper with if you like thrillers or if you like mysteries, if you like romances, try these books. And then people can take those too, just as a more passive reader's advisory tool, but really, really helpful, especially for those patrons that come in that are a little bit shy to talk to you. I know that all librarians are super cool and fun, great people, but I also know that some patrons are shyer than others or more independent and they don't want to have to ask staff for help finding books or reader's advisory. So passive reader's advisory is also super helpful in that way. All right, any question on the tools or anything before I move on?
Let's see, anything else about tools to use, resources for Reader's Advisory? Put it in your question section of GoToWebinar. Nope, I think we're good to move on.
Okay, perfect, sounds good. All right, well then I'll talk a little bit about Reader's Advisory's outreach. I really genuinely feel that Reader's Advisory is a truly amazing outreach tool that we all have at our disposal. So one of the ways that it can be helpful is growing your online presence. So we have at our library, we have a digital survey that I will show after this slide. But so do a lot of other libraries. A lot of libraries have these sort of digital readers advisory services, and they go by a lot of different names. And so I put a link to a couple of them. Had to represent South Dakota in a couple of those. But those are really nice, and those are great examples of if you wanted to do this. They're really easy to make. We just made a Microsoft Forms. You could do Google's Forms, whatever you use at your library, and people can fill those out online. We have paper copies for those who don't want to be filling those out for online, but they're just a good way to kind of reach out to people. Another online avenue for outreach is social media. So we do a lot of like, if you liked this book or movie, try this other book or movie. Or it's officially the first day of fall, try these fall-inspired picks. And then another thing that we've done is staff recommendations, and those have gone over so well. I was a big, this is going to shock you all, but I was a big nerd in school. And so I was always like, oh, I wonder what my like teachers' personal lives are like. Like, what are they like? What books are they reading? What shows are they watching? Again, I was a big nerd. But honestly, we get a lot of patrons in who feel the same way about us. They want to know, like, well, what are you guys reading?
They love staff recommendations. Yes.
Yes. So I think it's just a really great way to engage and show off your staff, show off your collection. It's really, really fun. And so these have gone over so well. We do them only every once in a while, but they're just great to include in your online outreach for social media. So highly recommend. I think I put this one up that my colleague Joe recommended, and it was gone later that day. So again, it's just a great way to get out books. And then marketing materials. Definitely check out marketing materials for different databases. Library Roots has some great marketing materials. Awards typically have marketing materials as well, so don't be shy on using those for your social media or for your online things. A thing that I hear often from people, from librarians, particularly librarians who are trying to boost their online presence, is like, well, I don't even know where to start. And those are great because they're pre-made. It's sort of a partnership that you're uplifting usually. So it's really, those are great tools as well. More Readers Advisories outreach. We do a lot of Readers Advisory kind of passively at events. So we go to all of the events in town, which is really fun. So we might have either books that they can check out then, or we have those flyers or brochures or whatever that list some books that we have in our collection. Like, if you liked this kind of book, you'll like this kind of book. And those are popular because people can just take them as they go. Author talks, you can see in our author talks that we have here, we might show their books or books similar to theirs, or books that those authors recommended or that they used for their research, so that people can check those out. And then performers or programs, we have a great guy who comes in and does balloon art. So he makes balloon animals with the kids. And so we try to get like circus books out and things like that, just things related to the topic of like all these fun, exciting things. So always kind of fun. All right, and then I've talked a lot about passive Readers Advisory, but I really do think it's really important that we're reaching people not just who come up to us directly and ask for Readers Advisory, but who maybe in the library or out in the world elsewhere and might not want to directly ask for a recommendation. So one of the ways we do that is through displays. So I love that we had a presentation earlier on displays, because that was so helpful. I know I will, again, I'll be taking some of those ideas for my library as well. But displays are a great way to do Readers Advisory, social media again. And then when we give out our patron welcome information, we highlight some of the materials we have, like state park passes that people can check out. Inevitably, whenever we post about our state park passes, people say, oh, I had no idea you had that. Like, I gave it to you. I know I did. But again, just those constant reminders of what you have is a really good tool, and so important. So all that being said, all of those tools, all of those things, why Reader's Advisory? Why do we do this? It is, again, to match the right book or materials to the right person. And that's because we want to save people time. Like I had said earlier, patrons are busy. They have lives outside of the library. And your job, or part of your job as the librarian, is to help them have like an effective and positive experience in the library. And so Reader's Advisory is just one of the great ways to do that. And it can be this great way to build trust with your patrons too, and this relationship, which is I think it's lovely and beautiful. It's one of my favorite parts of the job. It also increases circulation and materials awareness. There have been things that we're like, wow, this, our puzzles aren't really going out and we don't know why. And we realized it's because people didn't know about them really. And so when we started doing those perfect pairings and suggesting them, way more people were checking them out because they knew that we even had them. So again, it just increases that awareness of what we have. It also helps promote collaboration and community partners. We are very close partners with our local game, fish, and parks. I don't know, station maybe is the right word, or office, I guess is the better word. They're fabulous, and we're very, very lucky to have a great collaborative relationship with them. And so they give us materials and we're able to pass those out to people. And that's been just such a fabulous partnership. So again, it's great. If I'm giving someone a fishing pole, I want to give them also the fishing handbook, or at least a fishing flyer from Game, Fish, and Parks. And again, it just builds that community rapport with your patrons. It builds up that community. They feel like the more that you interact with them in these positive ways, the more that they feel that they can trust you, which is great. It just builds a better environment. So a couple of bonus tips and tricks on Reader's Advisory. I highly recommend, if you're very nervous about Reader's Advisory, you don't know where to start, you haven't done a lot of it, whatever that might look like, I recommend making recommendation lists for people specific people in your life, friends, families. I'm a big podcast listener, so if you have a favorite podcast host and you're like, I think this podcast host should read this book, it's great to kind of make a little list for those people. The trick or key here being, don't give those lists to those people unless they ask for them. Like, don't force your recommendations on other people. But if you have someone in your life, like my mom, being a perfect example, who wants recommendations and who's going to be honest with you on whether or not they like them, and they have things they really enjoy that they can kind of give you as a background, that is a fabulous place to start. So just a really, really good way to build up your confidence in yourself when doing Reader's Advisory. I also highly recommend you work closely or get insights from whoever is in charge of ordering your books. And that might be you. It's me in my case. So but if you aren't that person, just working closely with them is really, really important. You can get a lot of great recommendations of read-alikes from them. And then also, along with that, we're doing a ton of weeding right now in our library, and which is always a big process. But what we've noticed is our patrons keep commenting on, oh, it's so much easier to find things now. It's so much easier to find books or movies or whatever. And so being a part of a weeding process can also be very beneficial, or weeding your library just to sort of clear things up can also be super beneficial. And then the last tip being genrifying your library can be just a great way to have passive Reader's Advisory. We don't have our library genreified, but we do have genre stickers on our book spines. So this is great if I have kids who are like, where are your sports books? If I can show them, well, we don't have one section for sports, but this is the junior fiction section, and look for any of the books with this sticker on the spine, and those are going to be your sports books. And then I might show them a couple of specific authors to get them started, but then they know from there on what to look for going forward. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. I would love to hear any questions or comments or tips and tricks or anything like that. Feel free to put them in the little question feature.
All right, yes, thank you so much, Cheyenne. This is lots of great resources and information. I think hopefully it'll help a lot of people who are nervous, not confident in being readers advisors. Yeah, we definitely have about 10 minutes left of the day. So if you have any other questions or comments you want to ask, type right into the questions section. You have plenty of time. And yeah, leave that slide up there so they can grab your email if they want to reach out to you that way too. But we do have one question that was here already. Someone wants to know a reminder of what was the children's read alike resource?
Yes. Oh, so I'll leave this up for another minute or so, and then I'll quickly go to this resource. I should have highlighted that. In fact, sorry, I'm gonna back up. If you have something that I talked about or a reader's advisory tool that you think you want to look more into, also put that in the chat and I can quickly go over it. I just didn't want to go too far over time or anything like that. But yes, the reader's advisory list or for children read alikes list is truly one of the best resources I've ever found. I think it's from California. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but it is really fabulous because it has all of these like super popular children's series, and then you just click on the link and it or on the title or whatever it is, or even the genre or theme, and it will take you to a bunch of books that fit into those resources. So I think
Pop back to that slide now, yeah.
Yes, okay, I'm gonna quick pop back to that slide so that I can show more of that. It really is good. All right, children's read alikes. Yes, I don't know who Penny Peck is, but I'm a fan. Oh my goodness. It's such a great, I mean, it's truly a great, one of the best resources, because so many readers advisory resources are really for adults or adult fiction, and so this is a great resource for kids and junior fiction. So I will real quick click on one. Babysitters Club is always big here, so I'll click on that. And then right on the side there, you've got a bunch of great, other series and books. I mean, just so many.
So many, yeah.
Yeah. San Jose State University High School, that's where it was. So, yeah, such a great resource.
San Jose, yes.
But yeah, I love it. It is a little bit not super dated by any means, but the last one that they have is for summer reading theme is 2019. But still, it's great, and all of these authors and books are still super popular, so it's not anything that you can't use by any means.
Cool. All right. Getting lots of comments. Loved all these resources. Definitely going to use them. I get lots of asks for book recommendations, but it can take some time to get a list, so this is so helpful.
Oh, good.
And then very helpful. I'm thankful for all the resources to help me. This is something that is difficult for me. Someone else says, oh, and here's, I like this comment. Great presentation, bubbly personality, cute glasses.
Thank you. Wow. Yeah. You guys are making me feel great on a Friday afternoon.
Friday, end of the day after a long week. Yeah. Perfect presentation. All right, so now here's a good question. Do you find that people disagree with what you determined with the genre?
Yeah,
someone specifically said that. They say, I don't want to go into fantasy versus sci-fi on every title I purchase.
Oh, yes, that is such a great question. And in fact, one thing that has happened to us for the stickers, the genre stickers specifically, is that we have had, like, if we have 3 of the same book, but we purchase them at slightly different times, one genre sticker might say, mystery, and the other one might say historical fiction, or like one might say fantasy and one might say sci-fi or whatever. And we try to be consistent. But yes, we have had people also like point out, like, I don't think it should be in this. I think it should be in this. And we just try to take that with grace, and also the understanding that, we might not have read every book. We try to, at least we know the synopsis and all of that, but we do change things too if we get.
And that's too. It's not like it's stuck in stone with that sticker. You can never change it. If someone does come to you and say, I've actually read this book and it really is more about this than that.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. And in fact, I did that once with a book we had cataloged, and I was like, oh, we have it as mystery, and it's definitely like a fantasy. Like there's not a lot of mystery in here.
Mystery readers are not going to be happy when they get into this one.
Yes, they're going to be very confused on why there's suddenly magic, and yeah.
And you can have multiple stickers too. It's a fantasy mystery. It's both. So yeah.
Yes, this is such a constant conversation in my library. So I love this question because it's like, oh, we try our best.
Your best, yeah. Someone else does say we genrefied our library. It has been very successful.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
I think that's what we've heard a lot of. I believe we've had presentations here on Big Talk and about it, and on other webinars we do about over the years about gentrification. That it's definitely something many libraries are doing, and either full on doing it entirely, doing it partially. Some started, like we just tested it out with just our children's books.
Oh yeah.
Or tested it out just with the teen older books first, and to see if it works or not before moving on to the whole library. So that's also something you can do a little bit at a time if you're not sure.
Yeah, and I love the idea of doing that with, we sort of do that a little bit with our children's section in terms of like, we just put all the Disney books in one spot because kids will come in like, we just want, the Disney picture books. And so, yeah,
that's perfect. You're responding to what your patrons need.
Right.
They come in and ask for that thing. I want Disney. Well, we've done that for you. We've made that a whole.
It's quick and easy, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone said they just put a book on hold from Library Reads. Thank you for letting me know about that resource. Yeah.
Yes.
Success.
This is also, again, it's dangerous if you're a big reader because you're like, oh, suddenly I want to read all these books, which is great. But yeah.
Awesome. And what a great session to end the day. Yeah, I think it's absolutely nice, uplifting, perky section to just go off on a high note. I think definitely something fun.
I'm glad it's a fun one. Hopefully everyone likes a little reader's advisory. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. All right. Does anybody have any desperate last minute things they want to say or ask Cheyenne about reader's advisory?
And again, feel free to email me for the presentation or anything else. I'm always happy to. I love to chat.
Like I said, the plan is to have the presentations available when the recordings go up. But like I said, that does take me a few weeks to get going. So if you want something quicker, feel free to reach out to any representatives there. If you grab their emails from here during the conference, or I mean, honestly, use your librarian foo and search engine of choice and look up these people. Most of them are, we've got mainly library directors, library staff, and their emails or the libraries are out there. I asked you to link to I think all representatives this time have links to their library website. So you'll definitely be able to dig down and find contact information for anyone who presented today. All right, we just got a way to go, Cheyenne. Yeah. All right, so thank you so much. This was so very good, good presentation. Great resources and information. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thanks again for all that you do.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm happy to do this. We always have a good time every year. I think I have a good time doing this.